So today we are going to continue the topic on screen stranger idealization. So let me start with a brief recap and proceed to the more complex cases of structures which can be idealized as a screen stranger configuration. Okay, so this problem that I have drawn here has been solved in the earlier class, where I have a rectangular box beam with uniform thickness D. There are four stringers at the four corners given by point 1, 2, 3 and 4. The area of the stringers are known, and we had done a screen stranger idealization of this cross section with the help of four booms B1, B2, B3 and B4. The booms are located at the position of the stranger, as is usually done in screen stranger idealization. So now so our job was to find out the area of the booms B1, B2, B3 and B4. So we have seen that the area of B1 was equal to 1/6 of H into T plus half of L into T plus area of stranger 1, and the B2 was again 1/6 of HT plus half of LT plus A at stranger 2. So this is basically 1/6 of the area of the web. This is half of the area of the adjacent stranger. Now, if you remember the formulation that we did in the last class, this part was obtained by equating Ixx to Ixxa. Okay, as mx was greater than my. Similarly, if for B2 also, this part was obtained by equating Ixx to Ixxa. Right? Now, the other thing that we did is that we could evaluate B1 and B2, this part of B1 and B2, only because of the condition that B1 and B2 are equidistant from x-axis, or they, right? So B1 and B2 are placed at y equidistance from the x-axis. So with this, under this condition, we had actually used this condition to obtain the area of B1 and B2, which was given as 1/6 of the web, area of the adjoining web, and half of the area of the horizontal flange, and of course plus the area of the stranger located there. So similarly, we could find out B3 and B4. So I am not getting into how to find B3 and B4. Now what I am going to do is going to move into a multiple cell, okay, component. So let me just draw a multiple cell. So let us consider that a two-cell component of an aircraft or two-cell thin wall a beam with two-cell cross section. So, and I have to convert it into a skin stringer idealized model. So, what I'm going to do, there are stringers at all these corner points from 1 to 6, and I have to place a boom there. So, B1, B2, B3 and till B6. Okay, now by the same logic that we had used earlier, the area of B1, again if we equate Ixx to Ixxa, considering mx is greater than my, then B1 is going to be 1/6 of this wave, so that is going to be 1/6 of h into t plus half of this wave. Okay, so that is going to be half of lt plus the area of stringer at 1, so as1. So what is going to be b2? B2 is going to be 1/6 of this wave, so it is going to be 1/6 ht, and B2 is again going to be half of this, so that is plus half of lt. B2 is also going to have half of this, so it is going to be plus half of L2 plus LT plus the area of the stringer at S2. Okay, so this is going to be B2. Similarly, B3 is going to be 1/6 of HT plus half of LT plus A of S3. Okay, pretty straightforward. Exactly the same logic that we have used for the earlier problem, that Ixx should be equal to Ixxa because mx is predominant, and by equating this we get the expression for the expression for the area of the booms. Now, if we remember what the derivation that we have done in the last class, we will know that even for this problem, we could obtain this because B1, B2 and B3 had or have same y distance from x-axis. Okay, so this information or this condition was important to derive this part of the area. Okay, now if this is not the case, this is not going to be the case in most of the aircraft component. So most of the aircraft component is not going to have a nice rectangular kind of beam cross section. Okay, it mostly will have the shape of an aerofoil, which can at most be approximated as a tapered structure, parallelepiped kind of, a quadrilateral kind of shape. So what are we going to do in that case? So let me just clear this and try to draw the condition. So see, most of the cases we are going to have an aerofoil kind of cross section, okay, which could be single cell or it could be multiple cell, and there will be stringers all over. Okay, so this can no way be modeled as a box beam or something similar to that. So this at most can be modeled as a tapered cross section. okay, and where the booms that you will get is not going to be equidistant from the x-axis. Okay, so how are we going to handle this situation? So let me consider, let me draw it fairly. Okay, let me consider a problem that is given in Maxent. It's a solve example in Maxent, and I picked it up from there. It's a very nice example to illustrate how to obtain the Skeene-Stringer idealized condition for a taper configuration. Okay, so this is the configuration. So now uh, this will be idealized in this form. So booms at each location of the stringer okay, and now how do I find out the area of this booms? Okay, so there is a symmetry about the x-axis, but so why? Okay, so this is IXX. Okay, and I will equate IXX to IXXA. That is my philosophy that I'm going to use for this Skeene-Stringer idealization, considering MX to be predominant. Okay, now you can see that these booms are no longer equidistant with the x-axis, right? So let me just name them. Okay, so what do I do in this case? So in the previous case, you have seen that if I have a horizontal flange, and if I have to replace only this flange by two booms, then the area of these two booms, B1 and B2, is B1 is equal to B2 is equal to half of LT. That is what I have just said in the last example. But if this is not the case, and if my flange is inclined, so if I have a flange which is inclined with respect to the x-axis. So this is my x-axis, okay, and if I have to replace this by two booms, sorry, if I have to replace this by two booms, okay, of course this is the x-axis. How am I going to find out the area of B1 and B2? So let me just reiterate what I have done. I have just taken a slanted flange, okay, which is at a certain angle to the horizontal x-axis, and I'm just replacing this flange. There is no stringer, no wave as of now. I'm just replacing this flange by a two booms, a skin and two booms. Let me call this as B1. Sorry, I have just moved away from our convention. So this is B1 and this is B2. Okay, now if you think about this inclined flange, okay, if I think about this inclined flange and an mx moment, then the direct stress distribution on this inclined flange is going to look something like this, which is going to be sigma 1 here, this is going to be sigma 2, okay, and it will change linearly between sigma 1 and sigma 2. So this is normal or normal stress distribution or direct normal stress distribution on the inclined flange. Okay, so right, so because the position 1, so let me call this as 1 and this as 2. Since the position 1 is farther away from the x-axis, the direct stress, which is a function of y, is going to be more at 1 and less at sigma 2. And now this is being represented by this boom configuration. Now if I take moment about B2, so taking moment about 2 of this stress distribution and parallelly the skin stringer configuration. So let me so the stress here at boom 1 is going to be sigma 1 and at boom 2 it is going to be sigma 2. So what is the moment produced by sigma 1? It is going to be sigma 1 into boom 1 into the distance B. So B is this length. B is this length is going to be B. Okay, sigma 1 into B is going to be sigma 2 into thickness into B by 2 plus sigma 1 minus sigma 2 into T into P into 2B by 3, right? So I am equating the moment produced by the boom about point 2 and the moment produced by the entire stress distribution on the inclined flange about point 2. So if I do so, then I get B1, which is area of the boom 2, as TB by 6 into 2 plus sigma 2 by sigma 1. Okay. Similarly, if I take moment about point 1, B2 is going to be TB by 6 2 plus sigma 1 by sigma 2. Okay, by taking moment about 2. Sorry, by taking moment about 1, I can get the area B2, right? So now let us see, right? So this is how, so if I have an inclined flange, I can find out the area of boom 1 and boom 2 by using this set of equation. Now I don't know sigma 1 and sigma 2, okay? I can only say that the ratio of sigma 1 and sigma 2 is going to be equal to the ratio of the position 1 and position, let me write it down. So I don't know sigma 1 and sigma 2, but I know that sigma 1 by sigma 2 by sigma 1 is going to be y2 minus y1. So distance of 2 from x-axis, right? And this is distance of 1 from x-axis. This I can tell because the normal stress is always going to be my, okay, mx into y2 by ixx, and I mean somewhat this, okay. So mx into y1 into ixx. So we can very well say it is not equal to, it can be very well approximated by y2 or by y1, or y2 by y1 is a good approximation of sigma 2 by sigma 1. Now let me see what is happening if the flange was not inclined but horizontal. If flange was not horizontal, so if the flange was horizontal, or parallel to x-axis, then sigma 2 would have been equal to sigma 1. Then 2 plus sigma 2 by sigma 1 would have been equal to 3, and therefore B1 would have been TB by 6 into 3, which is TB by 2. That is what we have done in the earlier example or earlier derivation, right? So this is how you can, this is probably one way how to tackle or model an inclined flange problem into a Green-Stringer idealized model. Okay, so with this I will solve the example that is already solved in Maxent, but I wish to explain the solution here, and let's see how it is implemented. Okay, right? So let me write down the dimensions that is given in Maxent. So the dimension of this part is 400 mm. Okay, this is of course 300 mm. This is 200 mm. Okay, and each of this length, that is from here to here to here, these are all 600 mm. Of course everything is in mm. Okay, so the thickness here is 2 mm. Let me use red color. So the thickness here is 2 mm. The thickness here is 2.5. The thickness here is 3, and this is 2, and this is 1.5, and it is symmetric about x-axis. So symmetric about x-axis. Okay. So now, what are the area of each of the stringer? Area of each stringer is equal to 300 millimeters square. Okay, and this condition holds. We know that mx is predominant, and therefore I have to equate Ixx to Ixxa. So then let me find out B1. What is B1 going to be? So B1 for this portion is going to be 1/6 of 400, right? And for this portion, it is going to be 1/6 sigma 2 by sigma 1. So sigma 2 by sigma 1 is 150 by 200. So this is sigma 2 by sigma 1, right? So plus the area of the stringer, which is 300. Okay, so this is going to, sorry, this thickness is not 3, this thickness is 2. I made a mistake. So this thickness is 2 into this. So if I evaluate this, this is going to be 1050 millimeters square. Okay. Now let us go to B2. What is going to happen with B2? So B2 is going to have 1/6 of this. So that is going to be 1/6 into 300 into 2.5 plus 1/6 of this part, so which is going to be 1/6 into 600 into 2 into 2 plus sigma 1 by sigma 2, so 200 by 150 plus, it's going to come from here as well, so that is going to be 1/6 into 600 into 1.5 into 2 plus sigma 3 by sigma 2, so that is 100 by 150, right? So this is sigma 3 by sigma 2. Okay, plus of course the area of the stringer, which is 300. So if I calculate this, this has already been done in Maxent, so that is going to be 1791.7 millimeters square. Okay, so similarly I can find out B3, which is also going to be very straightforward. So it is going to be 1/6 of the area of web, which is 2 into 2 into 200 plus 1/6 plus 300. Okay, so that is going to be 891.7 millimeters square. Now because of symmetry, B1 is going to equal to P6, B2 is going to equal to P5, and B3 is going to equal to P4. Okay, so now I hope that you now would be able to find out the skin stringer model of any cross section of arbitrary shape. So you have to use your own judgment. So if it is a aerofoil shape, you probably would like to approximate into a tapered cross section, or you could take each portion of the skin between two stringer to be a slanted flange, and approximate it. So the how you are going to approximate it is going to be entirely the decision of the person or the engineer who is solving the problem. So these are just the guidelines of how to tackle such problem, how to get hold of a skin stringer model for simple calculation at the design level. So with this, we are done with finding out the skin stringer model of a actual cross section and how to do the bending moment analysis or the direct stress due to bending moment of such idealized cross section. So with this, I will end this lecture. In the next lecture, we will try to find out the shear stress in such skin stringer idealized model. Thank you.